Hey, everybody, welcome to That Expert Show, where you help run the show. I'm Anna Canzano. Thank you so much for joining us. We're talking today about digital marketing, and this is a topic that has come up big, I think, in the last few months. We've been in the midst of a global pandemic. If you are a budding entrepreneur, or the owner of a small business, maybe you help do social media and online work for a nonprofit, I think it's become more pertinent than ever to have a strong online presence. So we have a great expert lined up today. She is a transformational marketing strategist who creates brands and global platforms for leaders via digital media, books, and online visibility. She has walked the talk. She's been a small business owner herself and has utilized those skills now to help others. Joining us live from Bellevue, Washington, or outside of Bellevue, is Susan Gilbert. Susan, thanks so much for being on That Expert Show.
Anna, thank you so much for inviting me.
You know, I am excited to talk to you. We recently had a conversation with a woman known as the Queen of Facebook, Mari Smith, and she's very Facebook and Instagram focused. But I'm excited to talk to you because you have kind of a broader perspective on marketing, digital marketing, but with its roots in traditional marketing strategies. And your whole point when you work with clients is that you really need a plan.
Absolutely. That's part of why I call myself a strategist. There's a big difference between using a strategy to create your business or implementing tactics, which are the tasks that you implement underneath the strategy. And those tactics certainly are going to be social media, but it depends upon what business you're operating. Do you need them all? Do you need only some of them? Which one is most important for your customer, your who, and for what you are selling and providing to people? So that all is figured out within the strategy, and then we decide what steps are taken from there.
So when you begin to work with a client, what are the first steps that you take? Let's say that you have a relatively new business and you just want to get the word out there. I think a lot of people are overwhelmed because they just don't even know how to begin.
That's absolutely true. And if someone hasn't been an entrepreneur before, I see a lot of people coming out of the corporate environment and they've been doing one task and they're very, very good at that one task. But when you're an entrepreneur, you're everything. You are the marketer, you're the human resource person, you are the accountant. You're doing many, many things, and it can spiral out of control when we lose focus, and then we operate out of fear and we just start trying different things.
But that can be not only a waste of time, but also a waste of energy because it's literally like throwing spaghetti on a wall and seeing which one will stick. Or,
Exactly.
as you've mentioned, going to build a house without a blueprint for the foundation and starting from the ground up. I think one of the things that you've done successfully is helped people realize that getting out there, being public about what they do, speaking about it and writing books about it, that has been a successful avenue for people that you've worked with?
Oh, absolutely. I work with brick and mortar businesses, although mostly now my very favorite client comes to me in a subsidiary of my online promotion success business called Messengers on a Mission. And many of the people, whether it's men or women, they have reached a certain point in their life where either success didn't really give them the fulfillment that they thought it would, or they just want to take what they've been doing for many, many years and get the word out to a bigger audience, because that's the beautiful thing about digital marketing. When I had my coffee shop, my sphere of influence was for anyone that would walk into the cafe. I certainly wasn't marketing to someone in the tri-state area or across the world. But with the World Wide Web, we can be visible and we can promote our products, our services, our knowledge, our expertise as a global messenger.
So when you go to create that blueprint with somebody, what avenues are you most interested in talking with them about right now? Like, what packs the most punch if you're going to invest your energy down one channel?
The first thing that I do when I'm working with someone is determine what the message is that they want to get out. And within that message, where is their audience? And if it's, let's say, a professional business, someone is doing, they want to build a speaking career. And of course, to me, I think all speakers should be authors and all authors should be speakers. But if you're in the professional environment, then certainly over and beyond a website, which I believe is always the hub, everybody should have a website. And it doesn't have to be 20 pages. And in fact, the smaller and the more concise, the better these days, because people are overwhelmed with information. But the one place that person would be visible on is LinkedIn. Not necessarily Facebook, not necessarily Twitter, but definitely Facebook. And you know, as a journalist, let's say somebody wants to get publicity in a print magazine or they're oriented to TV and radio, but then they need to be on Twitter because Twitter is where all the journalists hang out. So it always comes down to not only what is that person, what is the message, and what is that person wanting to reach out and help the world with, but where are the people that they want to reach hanging out? And we can
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was going to say we could say that everybody's on Facebook, but in all honesty, that's not true.
That's true. And with Facebook, you know, its future seems a little bit murky to me, just with the younger generation really not that being into it. I see that you have a good following on Instagram. You have a good following on Twitter. Where did you see the most growth on those two platforms for yourself, and how did you achieve those numbers?
Because I got started, I've been in the online marketing world, first for myself and then for other clients, since 2002. And that was before Twitter, that was before Facebook, certainly before Instagram. So being an early adopter, I do think of myself as a futurist to be able to see what's coming down the pike. And it's one of the things that keeps me engaged and excited about the internet because it's always changing. But because I was an early adopter, those followings came along over time. And I think the most important thing for anyone starting now is you really don't need thousands and thousands and thousands of followers. I mean, it's very exciting to see somebody on Instagram with 1.2 million followers, but you don't need that. What you need is your own movement that you create. And if you have 1,000 people who are engaged with you on either one or multiple platforms, that's all that matters. So it's not the high numbers, even though I do have them. And when Clout, that's with a K, Clout had their measuring service, I had a very, very high score. But it took years for me to get to that point. And when people want to do it very quickly and they want to do it within months or a year, in all honesty, if you're not buying Facebook likes, you're not buying Instagram followers, or Twitter followers, I don't believe in any of that. It's just terrible, terrible social proof. It's going to take time to build that, but it's totally worth it.
See, and that's where I struggle because, like, you know, with my background as a journalist, I built most of my followers when I was still in traditional media, tied to a traditional news organization. Most people don't have that. And even now that I've branched off and I've launched my own project, while in partnership with the Oregonian, which is a brick and mortar business, I still feel stymied. Like, I feel like I've plateaued, and I'm wondering what I'm missing, because you're talking about how it takes time, but I feel like the following is plateauing. And I hear what you're saying about the importance of the quality of engagement with people. So maybe the better question is, what is the best way to drive that engagement with people especially when people are so allergic to the clickbait type of headline or post these days?
Well, it's outside what I consider social media, but certainly in line with digital marketing, is I'm a major believer in email marketing. And email marketing, when somebody has raised their hand and said, I want to know more about what you're doing, I want to know more about what you're saying, then you can begin to serve those people directly in their inbox with information, and always from that serving standpoint. What does your who need from you? And the really beautiful thing is, it's as you communicate with someone, and certainly maybe in the email you're telling them something that's going to happen on Facebook Live, or you're telling them about some event that you're holding and you're sending them to that event space. But the email becomes your relationship with them. And the last number that I saw was that email has 4,400, so 4,400% return on investment. Social media will never do that. And the other thing is, when somebody subscribes to your email list, that list belongs to you. You have direct contact with that person. What if Mark Zuckerberg decides that Facebook is going to go away and he takes Instagram with him? What do we do? I mean, some of us, I remember MySpace. Who's on MySpace anymore?
Yeah, we were all friends with Tom, I guess, who was the creator of MySpace. I remember that too. And that's a great point, because it's not just on the possibility that the particular social media platform that you're using goes away. There's all kinds of things that can happen. Your account can get hacked. The servers for Facebook or Instagram or Twitter could all go down, and therefore all of the time and energy that you've spent building up this equity, and it is equity, there is value in the people who have chosen to subscribe or to follow you, it's gone unless you have separately figured out how to communicate with them, develop an email list, and have a direct link to them that is completely outside the realm of social media. That is such an important caveat that you're sharing there. So, I mean, the obvious way to get people to sign up for your newsletter would be to go on social media and say, hey, sign up for my newsletter. That's the most direct way.
Well,
right?
Or on your website.
Okay.
You know, I think every website should offer, and it's not a clickbait, truly, when we think about what does our audience need? How can we serve them? What are the questions that are keeping them awake at night? How can we provide some piece of information that will be helpful to them, even if they unsubscribe the next day? How can you help them? And when you provide something that's going to help them, and they give you, it's like a first date. You're going to have their first date with that person when they give you the email list. And what I find, in particular when I'm working with authors, what you would think authors are writers and they would write emails, but that's not always true. They'll offer maybe the first chapter of their book. Somebody will give them the email to be able to receive that, and then they don't write any more emails. 6 months later, they introduce a new book and they email them, buy my book. Well, how do you think that person feels that has given them has given you their email address?
Mm-hmm.
So it's nurturing. And you go on the first date, you go on the second date, and pretty soon you have a relationship that's going on. So you own that list, you own your website, and you sprinkle in social media where appropriate for your audience.
So how often then would you recommend that people are emailing their email list subscribers with new content? Is that a weekly basis? Is that monthly? Is there a right number there?
I would say weekly for sure, but I subscribe to some people that email me daily, and I get incredible. Ben Settle is one of the most amazing copywriters, and he emails me daily, and I might not open every email every day, but when I have a chance, I'll go back and read a couple of them because he provides incredible information.
So there has to be, it's got to be quality content. So how do blog posts figure into this? Because that's a part of this whole digital marketing thing that is admittedly a mystery to me. I don't understand the value of blog posts. I've heard they're important for search engine optimization. Can you talk a little bit about that, how important it is to have a blog that is available on your website and how that expands your reach?
Absolutely. I'm going to answer the question with an example that I think will help. There's a business in Seattle called Market Fresh Fruit, and we started working together 10 years ago when he was just launching a website. It was not done by me, but it was a WordPress website, and I had him blogging. And in addition to the blogging, we were doing search engine optimization. Now, for him, he didn't need to reach an audience across the United States. He just needed to reach an audience right here in the Seattle area. And for him, just to throw this as a sidecar comment, for him, it was really important to get Yelp reviews. For local businesses, we forget about Yelp. And we were able to get him ranked in Google through the search engine optimization. And I gave him a process to be able to get those reviews he needed on Yelp. Well, then he stopped blogging, just like we talked about people who will stop sending emails to their email list. And he started losing that first place in Google. So it is something that I used to blog 5 days a week. And now I just do a tip list. It's called Monday Memos every Monday. And then when I think is something important that I want to get out to my audience, I will do that as a second email in that week, typically on a Thursday. So blog posts do feed Google because they're spidering new content all the time. And some people, writing is not difficult for me. So those 5 blog posts per week was not a problem years ago. But for some people it is. And so if you can even do a blog post once a month, that will be incredibly helpful if you're interested in keeping a ranking or gaining a ranking in Google.
So the other thing that I want to ask you about, and I might not be using the right term about it, thank you, first of all, for that information on blogging. That should serve as inspiration to all of us to get writing a little bit more. Something that I'm a little bit confused about is that within the last year or so, I have been flooded with emails from random entities, some that don't look or sound very legit, others that look more legit, saying, hey, we saw your website, we feel like, we're a good match, would you consider linking to our website on your website? And I've ignored all of these because I don't quite know what to do with them. Will it help me to partner with someone who's reaching out to me like that? Or, some of these literally sound like spam. They will message me via Facebook and say, hey, we'll pay you $5,000 for you to link to our website. And I've been a journalist for too long to know that anything that's, sounds too good to be true is. What is that? What's that about?
Well, first of all, ignore it.
Okay.
You're doing very, very well. Unless you get something like the New York Times that wants to do that, well, then of course you're going to work with them. But you are being spammed, and the more visible you are online, those kinds of things happen, and it happens on social media as well, right? You get people that send you friend requests that you don't know and you're not going to be friends with, and so it's a form of, we will just call it abuse of the internet. But where it goes back to is for search engine optimization, it is important to have linking, to have people who are linking back to you. When we begin to do reciprocal links, which means I link to you, you link to me, it almost cancels one and the other out unless there is one big heavyweight link in there that is appropriate for you. Now, if there's something, I'm trying to think of an example that might be helpful. Let's use my example earlier, Market Fresh Fruit. He picks up fresh fruit at Pike Place Market every morning, and he gathers together seasonal fruit, and then it's delivered to office buildings, office companies in Seattle, so they have a healthy snack. Now, if Pike's Place Market wants to do a link exchange with him, that's just good business because they're working with each other cooperatively. But when you're just getting these emails randomly, they're not trying to build a relationship, get to know you. It's just, would you put a link to me and I'll put a link to you. They probably are spammers and they aren't websites that you would want to do that with.
Yeah, some of them are tricky because they'll come in saying that, hey, I'm with BuzzFeed, and I look at the email, it's like, you're not with BuzzFeed. That email domain is not a BuzzFeed email. So that's interesting to know. So that improves your exposure if it's a legit person or entity that you're, trading links with, so to speak. But does that also increase your search engine optimization to be linked and referenced as a resource on other places on the internet?
It might. I mean, that one thing in and of itself won't make a difference. But when you have a combination of things, you're blogging, you're exchanging links with appropriate companies. Also, when you're blogging, if you are quoting resources and you are linking to those resources within the blog post, that's excellent. Now, that who you are linking to is not linking back to you, but Google sees that because you're representing yourself as an authority and as a knowledgeable person on that topic and in that area. So there's a multitude of things that when they're all done and in cooperation with each other, absolutely make a difference in your search engine rankings.
Interesting. Okay, let me just check what you said there. So if you are writing a blog post and let's say you're referencing governmental entities like OSHA or the DMV, or I'm just thinking of like very basic, legit entities, that's a good thing, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be linking back to you. Google simply likes that you're essentially, including a bibliography with your post.
Exactly.
Okay.
And here's another thing. When you link within your own blog posts, let's say you're writing on a particular topic today, and you spoke about something on a blog post similar a year ago. You can link back on the new blog post to the old one, and Google loves that you're creating your own interconnectability within your website.
Ah, interesting.
So there's something where, the quality of your website. You don't need to question it. You can link to yourself.
Right. Okay. This is all good stuff. I appreciate people who are tuning in with us live. We do have people watching us live on Facebook via my page and via The Oregonian, again, who I do this show in partnership with. Anna McDermott's writing in on Facebook, and she says she's a fine arts painter. She has a website and Instagram. Her art focuses on local landscapes. Would emails be best focused solely on my art, the process of making it, or also include about the hikes that I take that inspires her art?
All of the above, because they're all her. I walk the Camino de Santiago, which is a 500-mile pilgrimage that spans the northern part of Spain, going from the east over to the west. And I talked about that all the time. I'm not somebody who teaches people to walk in long journeys, but it is a part of who I am. I live on acreage and I have lots of animals, and I talk about that. It's a part of who I am. People want to get to know you. It's that whole know, like, and trust you. So you want to talk about not only where your expertise is, but let people know who you are.
I love that. What has been your most successful story when it comes to working with a client, taking them from concept to execution in a marketing plan that helped to elevate their brand and their presence?
Oh, I have a great example. I have someone that I worked with 20 years ago and became a mentor to him as he left corporate America and started to buy homes, rehab them, and create a real estate business. And he built quite a bit of wealth with that. And there came a point in his life about, I want to say 6 years ago now, where it was just residual income. And he wanted to do more. He wanted to do something out into the world. He had learned to fly an airplane, and he was flying outside the general area of where a new and low-time pilot would fly. And a lot of the airports wanted him to come out and do small gatherings and speak to them and tell them about his adventures. And so he flew up here, and we did a VIP weekend together. And during that time frame, we created his brand. His brand is called Flying Through Life. And because he wanted to go out to speak, I said, you need to write a book, which he did. And we wrote me coaching him and him doing the writing. He wrote first the signature book, Flying Through Life, which really taught people how he was able to build this wealth to be able to go out and do what he was doing. And then he circumnavigated the globe in a single engine airplane and wrote Zen Pilot afterwards. He's currently on a trip that is a pole to pole, where he went south down to the South Pole, over Antarctica, up through Africa, over Europe, got stuck with COVID in Spain for several months, and is now arriving in Seattle this afternoon. And we will be, once again, he has a documentary team following him. We will get together. Within only like 2 to 3 years, Anna, he became a thought leader in the aviation community. And his visibility just keeps going up and up and up. And if you look at his media page on flyingthroughlife.com, it's just incredible what has happened. But he's out there in the world, and he's talking about what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And we have the visibility on the social media, and he's blogging. We have everything working on all cylinders. Mm-hmm. And it's a great success story because it works.
That's very cool, and sounds like an amazing life to feature, and of course to have those resources to go about it too. I mean, none of these people that have risen to the acclaim that they have and have become the thought leaders, as you're talking about, have done it by accident. It's simply, the fruit of some hard work and some focused energy. Susan, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us, and I really encourage people to reach out to you directly if they are at this crossroads where they are looking to expand their reach as well.
Thank you, Anna.
And thank you for joining me for this episode of That Expert Show. A lot of great advice, great strategies there shared by Susan. We'll be putting those together as a tip sheet for you, as always, and that we'll post on thatexpertshow.com. You can check out that, as well as our YouTube channel, where we post all of our previous episodes. And if you prefer listening to content, you can check us out on Apple iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, all those good places. Subscribe to us at any of those places if you'd like. And I love to hear from you. I love your ideas on who we should talk to, the topics that I should try to find out more about, because I'm in this with you. We're learning together. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as Anna Canzano. Feel free to spread the word about this particular episode if you know somebody that it can help, or drop me a line just via my website, thatexpertshow.com. Again, I love hearing from you. It's a two-way street. It is a conversation. We're live on Mondays with the world's best experts on all sorts of topics to help you live smarter, healthier, and happier. It's That Expert Show, and it's where you help run the show.